All right, so today we're diving deep into a show. Well, it's more than just talking animals in Hollywood, BoJack Horseman. It surprised a lot of people, I think, with how deep it goes, how real it gets.
Yeah, definitely. It gets at, the human condition.
Yeah, and so we're going to unpack that today. We're going to unpack, like, why this animated series, which is hilarious, right?
Ah.
But also brutally honest sometimes.
Hmm.
Why is it necessary? Why are people saying this is like must-see TV in today's world?
Well, I think one of the things is it uses this kind of backdrop of Hollywood, the satirical, anthropomorphic Hollywood.
Animals and everything.
Right, right. But it uses that to explore things that are actually very universal. It's not just about, making fun of the entertainment industry. It's about all of us, our anxieties, our desires, just trying to find meaning in this crazy world.
Absolutely, yeah. And it starts right with BoJack, right?
Yeah.
The main character. I mean, yeah, he's a washed-up actor, but I think a lot of people relate to him.
Oh, totally.
Dealing with the depression,
Yeah.
the addiction, the self-sabotage.
It's tough to watch at times, but I
Yeah.
think, there's something really, really powerful about it, just how honest it is about these issues. That's what breaks down the stigma.
For sure. For sure. Now, I'm curious, did the creators set out to tackle mental health this directly? Or did that, evolve?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think the original idea was like, let's make a show about therapy. But, as it developed,
Yeah.
they clearly tapped into something like a need for this kind of conversation about mental health. And BoJack's journey, it's not pretty. It's messy. He screws up all the time.
All the time.
But it's real, And for people who are going through similar things, it's like, okay, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it's validating in a way.
Yeah. And it shows how hard it is to actually get better. It's not like a quick fix or anything.
Right. There's no magic wand.
Exactly. It's work,
Yeah.
You have to face your demons. Keep trying.
And it's interesting because the show doesn't let BoJack get away with everything.
Yeah.
Like, he faces consequences for his actions.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the things that makes it so different from other shows about, like, the troubled genius or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because BoJack is, talented or he was famous doesn't mean he gets a free pass.
Totally.
They make it very clear, like, redemption, if it even happens, takes a lot of work. Self-awareness, making things right. It's not easy.
Yeah, and that's a much, more realistic take, I think. Refreshing, even.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it's not just BoJack, right? I mean, the other characters, like Diane and Princess Carolyn, they're so well developed. And they have their own stuff going on,
Absolutely. Every character, I think, adds another layer to these themes of, like, who am I? What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Am I happy? Diane, with her existential crises. Princess Carolyn working herself to the bone. I mean, it's all very relatable.
It's like the show's saying, hey, we all feel lost sometimes, confused, like we're reaching for something that's always just out of reach.
Exactly. And I think that's why it resonates with people so much.
And, while it's doing all that, exploring these personal struggles, it's also got this really sharp social commentary.
Oh, yeah. Especially about Hollywood, right?
Yeah, yeah. The superficiality, the obsession with fame. And it's not afraid to, really go there.
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, think about episodes like Hank After Dark and Thoughts and Prayers. Those are tackling some pretty serious stuff like sexism, gun violence.
And they do it through satire, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Which is, I think, really effective because it makes you laugh, but then, it makes you think too. Like, wow, are we really this messed up?
It's it's funny, but not funny.
Right. Exactly.
So we've got these, personal stories, these characters that feel so real. And then this biting commentary on society. So what's the overall message? What's the show trying to say?
I think at its core, BoJack Horseman is about facing those hard truths about ourselves and about the world. It's like, stop looking at the surface, look deeper, question everything. And yeah, that can be uncomfortable, but it's also, I think, necessary.
And maybe that's why it's so important, right? Especially now, when everything feels so superficial, so focused on quick fixes and easy answers. This show is like, no, slow down. Think about this. Life is messy. And it's not about finding the perfect solution or ending. It's about, constantly trying to be better, even if you screw up along the way.
For sure. And what stands out to you about that? Why do you think it connects with people?
I think deep down, people are just craving something real, authentic. We're tired of all the facades, the
Yeah.
perfect images that are thrown at us all the time. And BoJack, it offers something different. A world where, yeah, characters mess up, they have flaws, they face real problems.
Right.
And I think by embracing that imperfection, it becomes more relatable,
Yeah.
more human, and ultimately more hopeful.
Yeah. I love that. It's like by acknowledging the darkness, the messiness, that's actually how you make space for hope, for growth,
Ah.
for redemption.
And that brings us to kind of the more philosophical side of the show.
Yep.
Because BoJack, it's not just about Hollywood or personal struggles. It goes even deeper. Like, what's the meaning of life? What's our purpose?
Yeah, those big existential questions, the nature of happiness and all that.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But it does it in a way that's accessible. Like, you don't need a philosophy degree to understand it.
Right. It's not like a lecture or anything. It's woven into the characters' lives. So we're like right there with them thinking about those same questions.
And you really see that in episodes like Escape from L.A. and especially Free Churro,
Oh, yeah.
which is, like you said, a whole episode of BoJack giving this monologue at his mom's funeral.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. What do you think makes that episode hit so hard?
Well, it's like everything else is stripped away.
Yeah.
It's just BoJack. And his grief, so raw. And you see so much in that episode. His pain, his messed up relationship with his mother, his struggle to make sense of, his whole life.
And it really sticks with you, doesn't it? Like, you can't just shake it off.
No, not at all. And I think it makes you think about, like, your own life, your own mortality, your family. It's a lot to process.
It really is. And it's amazing because, even though it's this show with talking animals and all these crazy things happening, it never loses that human element, that emotional core.
Exactly. It can make you laugh 1 minute and then break your heart the next. And that's what's so brilliant about it, right? This mix of humor and real sadness. And, it's not afraid to make you uncomfortable either. Like, it really challenges you to look at things differently, and you don't always get answers.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think that's what struck me about the whole idea of redemption in the show. Like, we're so used to, characters messing up, but then they learn their lesson.
Yeah.
And everything's tied up neatly at the end.
Right. Like a nice little bow on top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But BoJack, it throws that out the window.
It does. It's like, no, growth is messy.
Yeah.
You're going to have setbacks. You're going to mess up again. And it might feel like you're going backwards sometimes.
2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But even with all that, all the self-destruction and the chaos, there's still that little bit of hope. Like, maybe change is possible.
Even if it's hard, right.
Oh, it's definitely hard. And it's never guaranteed.
And that's what makes it so relatable, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's not sugarcoating anything. It's just, this is life, right? It's complicated. People are complicated.
Totally. And we're all going to screw up, even with the best intentions.
Exactly. And I appreciate that they don't try to give you, like, easy answers in the show.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the best things about it. It's like, here's the situation, figure it out, think about it, make your own decisions.
Yeah, and you have to think about it.
Mm.
You have to, like, actively engage with it. It's not just something you can have on in the background.
No, not at all. It makes you work for it a little bit.
And that's different from a lot of other shows,
Yeah.
right? It really sticks with you.
It does. It gets under your skin. And it's almost like it's having a conversation with you.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, it's making you question your own values, your relationships, your place in the world, all that.
Exactly. It's pretty deep stuff.
It is. And it does it all with this incredible balance of humor and heart. I mean, you have these crazy moments with the talking animals and these ridiculous situations. And then, boom, out of nowhere, there's this scene that just, like, punches you in the gut emotionally.
And they pull it off so well. The way they shift between those tones. It's like they can make you laugh 1 minute and then have you in tears the next. And it often happens within the same scene.
It's true. It's true. And that's part of what makes it so engaging. You never know what's coming next.
Absolutely. But I think it always comes back to that central idea that life is a journey. And yeah, it's hard, but there's always potential for growth, for connection, and maybe even a little bit of happiness along the way.
It reminds me of something you said earlier about how the show embraces imperfection. And I think that's a big part of what makes it so powerful. It's not trying to be perfect, and neither are the characters.
Exactly. It's saying it's okay to be a work in progress. We all are.
Yeah. So we've talked about the themes, the characters, the storytelling, but we should talk about how it all comes together visually too, like the animation.
Oh, yeah. The animation style it's deceptively simple, but it's so effective at conveying emotion You know, like the way they use color. Think about BoJack's apartment. All those muted tones. It's like you can feel his despair just by looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Or like how they use all those quick cuts and bright colors for Princess Carolyn when she's at work.
Right. It shows how frenetic her life is, how she's always on the go. And the music, too. It plays a huge role.
Oh yeah, the soundtrack is amazing. It always fits the mood perfectly, whether it's those like sad indie songs
Yeah,
or the upbeat jazz stuff. It just adds another layer to everything.
totally.
Yeah.
And it all works together so seamlessly. It's like every element is carefully crafted to create this immersive experience.
And that attention to detail, it's everywhere. From the writing to the animation,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the voice acting.
Oh my gosh, the cast is incredible.
Right. Will Arnett is BoJack, Alison Brie is Diane, Amy Sedaris is Princess Carolyn. I mean, they bring so much to those roles. You really believe these talking animals are feeling all these things.
They make them feel real. And it's not just about reading lines, you know? They really embody those characters, their vulnerability, their insecurities, even their good moments.
Yeah, you can hear it in their voices. Like
Yeah.
the pain in BoJack's voice, the weariness in Diane's, the determination in Princess Carolyn's. It's amazing how much they can convey just through their performance.
It really is. They understand those characters so deeply. And
Yeah.
they breathe life into them. It's like they're not just animated figures, they're real people.
And that's the thing that blows my mind, right? It's a show about talking animals, but it's us so human. You laugh with them, you cry with them, you see yourself in them.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes it so powerful. It goes beyond just entertainment. It's a reflection of who we are.
And we've explored a lot, but there's still so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Like how the show tackles social issues.
Yes. BoJack Horseman, it doesn't shy away from anything. It takes on these really difficult, uncomfortable topics, and it holds up a mirror to society. Like, look at yourselves. This is what you're doing.
It satirizes everything from Hollywood's obsession with appearances and, the sexism to like bigger issues like gun violence, political corruption.
And it does it so brilliantly, like in episodes like Hank After Dark, where they're talking about sexual harassment in Hollywood,
Right.
or Thoughts and Prayers, which takes on, the whole gun control debate.
And what's so clever is how they use humor to point out the absurdity of it all.
Yeah.
Like you're laughing, but then you're like, wait a minute, this is actually really messed up.
Exactly. It makes you think. And hopefully it starts some conversations. Because BoJack, it doesn't offer solutions, but it does force you to confront reality.
Yeah, it's not afraid to make you uncomfortable.
No, it's not. And it does it in a way that's smart and engaging. It's not preachy. It's just, here's the story, here are the characters, what do you think?
And that's what makes it so unique, so important. It's not just passively entertaining you. It's making you a part of it.
Yeah, it's a show that demands your attention and your participation.
And that's why it's had such a big impact. It's not just a show. It's like a cultural moment, something that makes you think differently, talk about things differently.
And one of the things I really appreciate about BoJack is how it reminds you that it's okay to not be perfect. Like, you're gonna mess up. We all do.
We're all works in progress.
Right. And even when things are really bad, when you feel lost and hopeless, there's always that potential for growth.
Change.
Okay, so we've covered a lot about BoJack Horseman, the characters, the themes, the impact it's had. But before we finish this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. Where do you see this message of imperfection and the possibility of growth reflected in your own life?
It's a big question,
Yeah.
and it's something that stays with you even after the show is over.
Mhm.
It makes you look at your own journey, your own choices.
Yeah.
It really does. It makes you think. It's not, a show you can just have on while you're doing other things. You really gotta be present with it.
Totally, and engage
Uh-huh.
with it. But one thing that always strikes me, even with all the dark humor and cynicism, there's also a lot of heart, a lot of compassion, actually.
Yeah, for sure. It's not all doom and gloom. There's moments of real beauty in it. When the characters show kindness, when they forgive each other, when they connect, like really connect.
Yeah, and those moments, they hit you even harder because they've been through so much to get there. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It's not like it's easy for them to be kind or to forgive. They have to earn it. They have to go through all that pain and messiness to realize that, happiness isn't about fame or money or anything external, really. It's about those relationships, about letting people in, being vulnerable.
Yeah, it's like the show is saying, look, life's going to be tough, but we're all in this together. And even when things are really dark, there's always that chance for connection, for growth, for those little moments of grace.
Yeah, I love that. Those little moments of grace, they're what make it all worthwhile.
They really do. So I think at its core, what BoJack Horseman is saying is that it's okay to not be okay. Like, you're going to mess up, you're going to have flaws, but you can still keep growing. You can still be a good person.
And I think that's such an important message, especially today, when there's so much pressure to be perfect, to have it all figured out. BoJack is like, no, just be yourself, embrace the mess, keep trying, keep learning.
And that's ultimately what makes the show so special, I think. It's both cynical and hopeful. It's hilarious and heartbreaking. And it all feels so real, so human.
It's a reflection of life, with all its complexities. And it shows that even in the darkest moments, there's always the possibility of hope, of healing, of finding those moments that remind us what it means to be alive, to be human.
So to wrap up this deep dive into BoJack Horseman, what's like one key takeaway that you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say remember that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to struggle, to make mistakes. We're all works in progress, and that's what makes life interesting. Just keep striving to be better, to connect with others, and never lose sight of that potential for growth and for hope.
I love that. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into BoJack Horseman, the show that's funny and heartbreaking and ultimately really hopeful. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you learned something new about this incredible show. We'll see you next time.